On today's episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to be talking about a first. 2022 Major League Soccer, Charlotte FC. Before we get into today's video, folks, if you haven't already, subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. Pound that like button, leave some comments, and hit the bell notification to be notified of future upcoming videos, Carolina Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, Charlotte Hornets, and major college sports in the Carolinas. All right, folks, I kind of wanted to do an early video on Charlotte FC. I know we're basically looking at maybe about 8 months out from their first game. But as we kind of approach, here we are just starting the summer. As we get into the fall, we're going to start looking at an expansion draft in MLS. We'll start looking at signing a head coach in a couple months. We'll start looking at different things such as getting players, a goalie, and other positions we haven't filled yet. And we'll start looking at, getting into a draft. So kind of wanted to take an early look at soccer. We won't be covering a lot of soccer videos, but when Charlotte FC starts playing, probably be covering them, saying how well they can do. And being they're owned by David Tepper, it's not going to be small. He's going all in, not just to make it a rivalry with Atlanta and trying to win the MLS, but probably putting this team on a national stage as well. All right, as we kind of know, by this time we thought a little over a year ago that Charlotte FC would begin play about this time right now, 2021. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it pushed things back. We were actually granted the 30th franchise in Major League Soccer history. However, we were going to begin play before Sacramento and St. Louis. So we'll be when we start in February of 2022, we'll be the 28th franchise. St. Louis is definitely going to be 29. And it looks like Sacramento, who I'll get into in a minute, could lose their franchise because the owner, Brian Burkle, I believe is his name, part of the owners of the Pittsburgh Penguins, has pulled his ownership, has kind of left that franchise in shambles. Now, we're not going to say Sacramento's not going to get this 30th franchise, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I kind of want to look at the history of soccer in the Carolinas. It's very big. Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest have been very big soccer schools in the past. And UNC Charlotte has as well. Kind of looking at things that, Charlotte never had a North American Soccer League team. At the height of the North American Soccer League, they kind of started playing in the 60s, I believe, really had their premier moments, their pinnacle in the late 70s. And as we tailed into the early 80s, started falling apart, and then it dissolved as a league. And they were challenged by the Major Indoor Soccer League, as well as several other soccer leagues. But the Carolinas never had a North American Soccer League team. They even had franchises in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Roughnecks. Memphis had the Rogues. Rochester, New York had the Lancers. New England team then were in Boston. They moved down to Jacksonville. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, outside of Miami, had the Strikers. I had franchises all over the U.S. and Canada, and some teams moved, and just some weren't successful. Some of your most successful teams were the New York Cosmos, the Tampa Bay Rowdies. You've got about three or four teams right now in Major League Soccer carrying on the nickname the Seattle Sounders, Portland Timbers, Vancouver Whitecaps. Really, soccer's pretty big in the Northwest. But I really started seeing things for the Carolinas that soccer might be big when the Atlanta United got a franchise. And Atlanta, just their attendance is going berserk. And I think this is something David Tepper sees a rivalry with Atlanta, and the Carolinas, particularly Charlotte, can compete. Now, Charlotte's not new to Major League Soccer. Now, Major League Soccer, the MLS as a whole, but in the early 80s, there was a secondary league to the North American Soccer League known as the American Soccer League, the ASL. And Charlotte had a team in the early 80s for about 4 years before it dissolved. And in 1981, they were averaging 6,000 to 7,000 fans a game, which isn't big compared to today's standards, but at the time it was pretty good attendance. And they had the Carolina Lightning. And the very first year, they ended up defeating the New York United, and they won 2-1 in front of 20,000 plus fans in Charlotte. Very big thing. So there is a history of soccer in Charlotte. Now, looking at other minor leagues, I know we had the United Soccer League. We had a rebirth of a North American Soccer League, and the Charlotte Independents, with their owner, wanted to get them into the Major League Soccer. I think he had the money, didn't have the credentials. 2014, he made an expansion attempt. Really, just too many other cities and people with deep pockets were ahead of him to get his franchise. But I did like the name Charlotte Independence. I thought that would have been great. 2016, Marcus Smith, who's the son of Bruton Smith, NASCAR, was going to try to put a team and play him in the NASCAR, I guess in the stadium, in the NASCAR in the infield. It's been kind of weird. But then he was going to revamp Memorial Stadium, and he wanted like $170-some million from the city of Charlotte and the county of Mecklenburg, and it never came to fruition, and that deal died. And at the time, it looked like Raleigh, Steve Malik, I believe is his name, who owns the USL's version of the North Carolina FC in Raleigh, Cary outside of Raleigh. And he looked like his bid was a lot stronger, and they might pose a threat to actually be the team to get into Major League Soccer. But he didn't have the deep pockets it was. So when David Tepper buys the Carolina Panthers, he right away said, and it struck me funny because I thought, well, maybe Tepper, he grew up in Pittsburgh, was a big Pirates guy, would try to also bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, which I still hope that can happen. But right away, he saw the money that was being made and the attempts, and felt with Bank of America Stadium, it was something that could be done. And sure enough, in July 2019, David Tepper puts an expansion bid out there for the Carolinas to have a Major League Soccer team. On December 17, 2019, his wish is granted, and the Carolinas are given an expansion team for Major League Soccer. And he had to pay $325 million in expansion fee. And I know that Charlotte was one of those top 5 or 6 cities looked at. But I think what threw Charlotte out ahead of everybody else was David Tepper having $12 to $13 billion and his willingness to spend $325 million on expansion fee. Remember, I think that's one thing that kind of derailed Sacramento, who was given a team before Charlotte, and now their bid's in jeopardy. Now, I kind of like the name. They came up with the name Charlotte SC. I like the fact they've stuck with the colors of the Panthers. That electric blue, the black, the silver, and the white. I think that's awesome. I love the logo. I love the fact they've kind of put the mint, being that the U.S. Mint was first established in the city of Charlotte back years ago. All Carolina FC was my favorite. I even had liked... trying to think of one of the other names. There was another one name that was placed out there. It doesn't come to the top of my head, but I thought All Carolina FC would have been really positively beautiful. Or One Carolina was one I thought, because you're uniting North and South Carolina in soccer. But they decided to choose Charlotte FC. Wasn't really original. But I think they're trying to capture what's captured in a lot of major cities abroad, especially in Premier League, where some of these cities are given the name of whatever the city FC. Some of the players they eventually signed, and I'm hoping I'm saying these names right, folks. Brant Bronico, a midfielder, played at UNC Charlotte. He also played in the MLS for the Chicago Fire. Christian Fuchs, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, he's a defender from Austria. He played in the Premier League for Leicester City. Riley McCree is Australian, a midfielder who's on loan right now to the English Championship League, which is a step below the Premier League for Birmingham City. Sergio Ruiz, a midfielder from Spain, and I believe one of the Spanish leagues came forward and wanted to use him, and Charlotte FC's already said, no, we're going to decline that. He's not going to be on loan for you guys right now. And the last player of significant note they have right now is Jan Sobozinski, a defender from Poland. Now, it's going to be interesting, Ben, we're here in late June, As we hit July and August, September, I'm sure we'll see more signings, maybe a goalie. I think about by September, you'll probably see a coach, if not sooner. And as we move into the fall, I think about November is when they'll do an expansion draft, and then they'll do the college draft. And then, we'll start to see the kit, which for you non-soccer fans, a kit is nothing more than a jersey or a uniform. We'll see those, and that'll be interesting to look at as we approach the fall. And of course, it's going to be interesting how many seats we put in the stadium, because I know the ticket prices are higher than most, but I believe David Tepper's got big ambitions to challenge Atlanta to be a major soccer frenzied area. Now, like I said, I looked at having the 28th franchise. St. Louis was granted a franchise ahead of us, and we go in 2022, they go in 2023. Sacramento was supposed to be the partner going in 2023 to make 30. I'm not going to say Sacramento won't be 30. I think the league is stuck with Sacramento a long time. They're going to try to give them time. But if Sacramento cannot come up with a deep-pocketed owner, my first take is, look at San Diego. If they get an owner, San Diego had a lot of North American Soccer League history. That could happen. If that doesn't happen, I think Vegas will definitely be the shoe-in for 30. But if one of the California cities, Sacramento or San Diego, get 30, I think you can look into Las Vegas as being 31 when they eventually, in 4 or 5 years or whenever, decide to go to 32 teams. And as far as the 32nd team that I'll see, if they stick to a California team and then put Vegas at 31, I think Phoenix, staying on the West Coast, I think Phoenix has an ownership group in place. I think it's the Phoenix Rising is their minor league team. I think they've kind of got their ducks in a row. After that, if no one steps up to the plate or somebody falters, a wild card I've seen this is Detroit. They had deep-pocketed owners. For some reason, Tepper talks them into letting them play in the football stadium in Charlotte. Detroit's not really, they don't want them playing in the dome with the Lions. It's a little bit of different. I don't think it has the same type of aesthetics. But if Detroit could get their act together and one of these California cities falters, or if Phoenix doesn't rise to the occasion, don't rule out Detroit. Even if somebody decides to move or something doesn't work out, or Columbus or some other city, don't rule out Detroit. They are always going to be looked at as a wild card. Now, if they go beyond 32, which I don't think they will, but if they did, cities that make a lot of sense, I know Louisville would want one. I just think Louisville's minor league. I know they'd have fans who are dying for a major league franchise. Indianapolis is another one. I think they had put funds forward. Just think it's too small. San Antonio's only problem is because you already have Dallas and Houston, and now that Austin has their first year playing as an expansion team in the MLS, I don't see them going beyond 3 teams in Texas, but you never know. And I also looked at Raleigh. Raleigh probably will never get a team now because Charlotte has Charlotte FC. But if things were to falter or they were to decide to go beyond 32 teams, Raleigh has a population. They have the soccer fans. The metro area is perfect. There's money there. If Malik can find another owner to go with him and have deep pockets, they really are a long shot. I don't think they will since Charlotte has a team, but you never know. But looking forward to it. February 2022, Charlotte FC starts. And kind of wanted to rep the jersey here. A t-shirt, decided to get one a few months ago. But let me know what you think of a video like this. Will you support the Charlotte FC franchise? Would you rather have baseball? Do you put it on par? Are you more willing to root for Charlotte FC than you do the Panthers or the Hurricanes or the Charlotte Hornets? Let me know. Leave me some comments. Hit that bell notification to be notified of other future content like today's video. Pound that like button. And by all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. I want to see you on another episode, Carolina Sports Guide.